The autumn air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves as Emily trudged deeper into the forest. Upstate New York in October was a painter's dream. Vibrant reds and golds splashed across the canopy. The ground, a carpet of fallen foliage that crunched softly under her boots. She was 28, a botanist by trade, but a forager by passion. And today she was after chanterelles. The golden mushrooms thrived in these woods, hidden beneath the pines like buried treasure. Her basket swung lightly from her arm, already half filled with the day's finds. She hummed a tune, oblivious to the subtle shift in the air, the way the birds had fallen silent. Emily paused at a cluster of oaks, kneeling to inspect a promising patch. Her fingers brushed aside leaves, revealing the frilly edges of a chanterelle. "Jackpot," she whispered, smiling. But as she plucked it, a low rumble echoed through the trees. Not thunder, but something primal, guttural. She froze, heart skipping. Bears were common in these parts, black bears mostly, but attacks were rare. The New York Department of Environmental Conservation estimated over 6,000 black bears in the state, with the highest densities in the Adirondacks and Catskills. They were usually shy, more interested in berries than people. Still, Emily's hand instinctively went to the bear spray on her belt. What's up, guys and gals? Iceman here. Welcome to Horrors of the North. So this is my new YouTube channel, and it's been going very well so far. So if you'll help me out, hit that like button and subscribe to this page, and make sure to paw that bell so you're notified next time I post a video. I'm not a bot, so by that alone, you should definitely like the video. The rustling grew louder, branches snapping like brittle bones. She stood slowly, scanning the underbrush. There, eyes like polished obsidian, glinting from the shadows. The bear was massive, easily 400 pounds, its fur matted with mud and leaves. It wasn't charging yet, just watching, head low, ears flattened. Black bears in upstate New York were opportunistic omnivores, feeding on nuts, insects, and yes, mushrooms when available. But this one looked wrong, emaciated despite its size, ribs visible under the fur, a wild hunger in its gaze. Perhaps a late-season drought had driven it to desperation. Reports from the DEC noted increased human-bear conflicts in dry years, with bears raiding campsites and dumpsters. "Easy now," Emily murmured, backing away. She unclipped the spray, holding it ready. The bear huffed, a cloud of breath visible in the chill air. Then, without warning, it lunged. Emily screamed, triggering the spray. A burst of capsaicin mist that hit the bear square in the face. It roared, shaking its head, but the pain only fueled its rage. Claws like scythes raked the air as it closed the distance in 2 bounds. She turned to run, but it was on her. Massive paws slammed into her back, driving her face first into the dirt. The world spun in agony as teeth sank into her shoulder, tearing through muscle and bone with effortless power. Emily thrashed, her free hand clawing at the earth, but the bear's weight pinned her. It shook her like a rag doll, the force ripping tendons. She gasped for air, vision blurring, but fought on, jabbing the empty spray canister into its eye. The bear reared up, bellowing, and in that moment of reprieve, Emily scrambled to her feet. Blood poured from her wounds, soaking her jacket. She bolted toward a fallen log, hoping to vault it and gain distance. But the beast was faster. It swiped, claws catching her skinny little leg, sending her tumbling. She hit the ground hard, the wind knocked out of her. Rolling onto her back, she saw it towering above, jaws gaping wide, rows of yellowed teeth, saliva dripping like venom. "No, please." Her plea cut short as the bear's maw clamped down on her neck. With a savage twist, it wrenched upward. There was a wet, tearing sound, like fabric giving way, and Emily's world ended in a spray of crimson. Her headless body slumped, twitching once before going still. The bear, unfazed by the spray's lingering burn, nosed at the remains, dragging them deeper into the shadows. In upstate New York, black bear attacks on humans were exceedingly rare. Fewer than a dozen confirmed in the last century, but when they happened, they were brutal, often fatal if the bear perceived a threat or was protecting cubs. This one, however, seemed driven by something darker, an unnatural fury that defied the species' typical timidity. Word of the attack spread like wildfire through the small towns dotting the Adirondacks. Emily's mutilated body was found 2 days later by hikers, her head discovered 50 yards away, eyes wide in eternal shock. The local news dubbed it the mushroom mauling, sensationalizing the horror. Authorities speculated it was a rogue bear, perhaps rabid or injured, urging residents to carry bells and avoid foraging alone. Black bears, Ursus americanus, were the only bear species in New York, with adults ranging from 130 to 600 pounds. Males were larger, more territorial, and while they hibernated from November to April, fall hyperphagia, a period of intense feeding, could make them aggressive if food was scarce. In the nearby hamlet of Pine Hollow, Mark Thompson heard the news over his crackling radio while sharpening his axe in his cabin. At 42, Mark was a mountain of a man, 6'4", 250 pounds of muscle forged from years of felling trees. He ran his own logging business, Thompson Timber, a one-man operation that supplied firewood and lumber to the locals. No employees, no partners, just him, his truck, and the woods. He'd grown up in these forests, learning the trade from his father, who died young in a chainsaw accident. Mark preferred solitude, the whisper of wind through pines over human chatter. Bears? He'd seen plenty, but they always scattered at his approach. "Live and let live," he'd say, though he kept a .44 Magnum revolver strapped to his hip, just in case. The story of Emily unsettled him more than he'd admit. She was from the next town over. He'd even sold her firewood once. As he sipped black coffee, staring out at the misty dawn, he pondered the bears. Upstate New York's black bear population had boomed since the 1990s thanks to conservation efforts and habitat protection. The DEC managed them through regulated hunting seasons, culling about 1,000 annually to keep numbers stable. Attacks were anomalies, often linked to habituated bears, those fed by humans, losing their fear. Mark had never fed one, but he'd spotted tracks near his worksite lately, larger than usual. Shaking off the unease, he grabbed his gear and headed out. Work waited. The forest enveloped him like an old friend as he drove his battered Ford deep into the timber lot he'd leased. Axes over chainsaws for the precision cuts. It was slower but satisfying. The rhythmic swing building his legend as the Iron Lumberjack. Today, he targeted a stand of mature maples, their trunks straight and thick. Parking at the trailhead, he shouldered his axe, a custom-forged beast with a hickory handle, and hiked in, the air crisp with pine resin. By noon, sweat soaked his flannel shirt despite the chill. He'd felled 3 trees, limbing them with practiced strokes, Pausing for water, he scanned the woods. Quiet, too quiet. No squirrels chatting, no bird song. A prickling sensation crawled up his spine, the same instinct that had saved him from falling branches before. Then, a crash in the underbrush. Mark's hand dropped to his revolver, but he froze. Emerging from the ferns was the bear. It was enormous, easily the largest he'd seen. 500 pounds, fur rippling over corded muscle. Its eyes locked on him, not with curiosity, but predatory intent. Scars crisscrossed its muzzle, one ear torn. This wasn't a normal black bear. In upstate New York, such giants were rare, but old boars could reach that size after decades of survival. Mark's mind raced. Black bears were climbers, swimmers, with a sense of smell 7 times better than a bloodhound's. They could run 35 miles per hour in short bursts, faster than any human. "Hey, get!" Mark bellowed, waving his arms to appear larger, as the DEC advised. But the bear didn't budge. It snorted, lips curling back from teeth stained red. Blood? Emily's? The thought ignited fury in Mark. He drew his revolver, firing a warning shot into the air. The crack echoed, but the bear charged. Time slowed. Mark fired again, this time aiming center mass. The bullet struck the bear's shoulder, eliciting a roar that shook the leaves, but it kept coming. A black avalanche of fury. Mark dropped the gun, empty now, and grabbed his axe, muscles coiling like springs. As the bear reared, paws slashing, Mark swung with all his might. The axe bit deep, embedding in the bear's skull with a sickening thunk. Bone cracked, blood sprayed, but the bear didn't fall. It thrashed, the handle wrenching from Mark's grip. Impossibly, it pressed on, the axe protruding like a grotesque horn. Black bears had thick skulls, evolved to withstand blows from rivals. But this was unnatural. Adrenaline surged as Mark backpedaled, tripping over a root. The bear pounced, jaws clamping on his arm. Mark screamed as teeth pierced flesh, grinding bone. He punched with his free hand, fingers gouging an eye, but the beast shook him violently. Blood filled his mouth from biting his tongue. With a Herculean effort, he kicked free, scrambling for a fallen branch. The bear loomed, axe still lodged, blood matting its fur. Mark swung the branch like a club, cracking it across the bear's nose. It staggered, but retaliated with a swipe that raked his chest, claws carving furrows through ribs. Pain exploded, vision tunneling. He collapsed against a tree, gasping. The bear advanced slowly now, savoring the kill. In a final desperation, Mark lunged for his revolver on the ground, fumbling to reload, but the bear was faster. Its maw engulfed his head, teeth sinking into his scalp and jaw. Mark's world became pressure and darkness, a crushing vice. He flailed, nails scraping fur, but the bear twisted with raw power. There was a pop, a rip, and then nothing. Mark's headless corpse slumped, axe still in the bear's skull like a trophy. The bear absorbed the silence, indifferent, but the horror didn't end there. In the days following Mark's disappearance, his truck found abandoned, blood trails leading to the carnage. The town of Pine Hollow descended into paranoia. Search parties combed the woods, armed with rifles, but the bear eluded them. Tracks suggested it was the same animal. Massive prints, one paw dragging slightly from Mark's bullet wound. The DEC dispatched wildlife officers, setting traps baited with donuts and honey, black bears' favorites during hyperphagia, yet nothing. Whispers spread of a cursed bear, a spirit of the woods angered by encroachment. Old-timers recalled legends of the Iroquois, who revered bears as kin but feared the Wendigo bear, a possessed beast driven mad by hunger. Scientifically, it made sense. Rabies could explain the aggression, though black bears rarely contracted it. More likely, this was a habituated bear, bold from human food sources. Upstate New York's expanding suburbs pushed bears into conflict. The DEC relocated over 500 nuisance bears yearly, but some adapted too well. Sarah, Mark's estranged sister, arrived from Albany to claim his effects. At 38, she was a park ranger, familiar with the woods but haunted by her brother's fate. She warned him about going solo, but Mark was stubborn. Now, inheriting his cabin, she vowed to find the bear. Armed with a tranquilizer gun and tracking gear, she ventured out, following the bloodied path. The woods felt alive, watchful. Sarah noted the ecology. Black bears played key roles in seed dispersal, controlling insect populations. But this one was a killer. She found Mark's site. Gore-splattered trees, his axe gone. No body, just drag marks. Heart pounding, she pressed on. Dusk fell, shadows lengthening. A growl pierced the twilight. Sarah spun, spotting the bear, axe still in its skull. A macabre crown, it charged. She fired the tranq dart, hitting its flank. The bear faltered but kept coming, drug slowing but not stopping. Claws raked her leg as she dodged, pain searing. Sarah ran, the bear in pursuit. She reached a cliff overlook, the Hudson River far below. Trapped, she turned, drawing a knife. The bear lunged, and in the grapple, she stabbed at the axe handle, driving it deeper. Bones splintered. The bear howled, teetering. With a shove, Sarah sent it over the edge, plummeting to the rocks. But as it fell, the bear's paw caught her arm, pulling her with it. They tumbled together, a whirlwind of fur and screams. Impact shattered bones, the river claiming them. In death, Sarah glimpsed the bear's eyes, empty, almost sorrowful. The attacks ceased, but the legend grew. In upstate New York, black bears roamed on, symbols of wild resilience. Yet in Pine Hollow, folks whispered of the axe bear's ghost, a reminder that nature's gentle giants could turn monstrous.